Alhamdulillahi wahda wa salatu wa salamu ala man la nabiyya ba'da. Brothers and sisters, Zakat is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned Zakat with Salah in more than 30 places in the Quran. Allah says, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. Pray the Salah and give the Zakat. This highlights the importance of Zakat, which is second to the Salah. And we all know that Salah is the most important action, most important pillar after Iman. When we give Zakat, we need to make sure that it is given according to the Islamic calendar, according to the lunar calendar, and not the Western or the Gregorian calendar, because as we are all aware, the Islamic calendar is usually 10 to 11 days shorter than the Gregorian calendar. So we need to fix a date for the Zakat, and this should be when a person becomes a possessor of the Nisab. But usually it is the norm that people fix a date in the month of Ramadan because it's easier to remember, although this is not necessary, but it is of course more rewarding. So we should have a fixed date every year according to Islamic calendar for our Zakat. Zakat can be given before the date, but when a person gives the amount, he needs to have the intention of giving Zakat. And later on when he calculates the Zakat, if the Zakat comes up to more, then he needs to fulfill that. But we need to remember the most important point is that when a person gives the amount, it needs to be with the intention of giving Zakat. We can't later on make the intention that, oh, the money that I gave previously, I will add that in my Zakat, then this would not work. Zakat is compulsory, obligatory on every Muslim who owns more than the Nisab threshold. And what is the Nisab? Which is this threshold has been fixed by the Sharia. The Sharia with regards to gold and silver, or the equivalent of it in cash. Now the preferred view of the scholars is that we use the lesser of the two Nisabs, i.e. from the gold and silver. And the lesser of the two nowadays is of course the silver. And this is fixed by the Sharia and the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In his time he fixed the Zakat for the silver, which was 200 dirhams, and those coins, they had a certain amount of weight, which equates to 19.7 troy ounces, or we could say 612 grams approximately. And nowadays of course it fluctuates, so whenever we are giving the Zakat on that date, we need to check the Nisab amount, but roughly it is around 350 pounds, from which the necessities will be excluded. So for example, if a person is paying rent, bills, his clothing, his car, all these things, these will be excluded from the person's nisab. So Zakat will be given on gold, silver, or its equivalent in cash, any investments, for example in stocks. With regards to land, we need to remember that if a person owns property and land, he doesn't have to give Zakat on that, as long as he doesn't have the intention of business. If a person is buying and selling land, then it doesn't matter of whether he's making a loss or profit, Zakat will be given on that land which he intends to do business with. And if a person has property which he is renting out, then the Zakat isn't on the property, but the Zakat will be calculated on the rent, the rental income. This will be added to the zakatable assets at the end of a person's nisab year. With regards to Zakat, we need to remember, if a person has a business, or for farmers or someone who is involved in agriculture, has livestock, there are certain rules pertaining to these issues. So if a person has some of these, then he should ask the scholars exactly regarding how he should calculate his Zakat. So Zakat, in simple terms, it will be calculated at the end of each year. So we fix a date at the end of each year. The total value of gold and silver in all its forms, the cash, money lent out to someone, bonds and shares, and articles of merchandise as well. If a person of course is doing business, articles of merchandise, they will be at the present wholesale cost will be calculated. So this will be calculated, and from such a total, the debts of a person will be deducted. Then the remaining amount, once this is calculated, debts are deducted, the remaining amount, if this is equal to or more than the nisab, which we, as I mentioned earlier, we're roughly around £350, but we need to check on whichever date we are giving zakat, then simply we give 2.5% of the nisab that we have. Just one point that we need to remember is that the nisab during the year will not be affected if it increases or decreases, as long as it doesn't go below the nisab threshold. We all know of our earnings and income and expenses throughout the year. If at any point our savings or our income, our savings go below the threshold of nisab, then that year will be void, and a new year will start and be calculated from when a person then again possesses the nisab. But other than that, if it fluctuates, for example, a person had 10,000 extra during the year, but then he spent it, so zakat will only be calculated on the fixed date every year. So this is what we need to remember, some basic issues of zakat. If we are not sure, we need to ask our scholars and make sure we are calculating the zakat in the correct manner and be deliberate about it, not be casual and complacent. Make sure we are calculating our zakat yearly and giving it. This is the haqq of the poor on us. This is we are not doing someone a favor, but this is their right which we are fulfilling. May Allah give us the ability to act upon this. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.